11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27.
Oh, baby. We here.
I was just counting all of the years Aaron Rodgers is going to make us wait until he decides when he's retiring. We steer.
You in the right direction. Welcome to another edition of the Grossi Perna Show. I'm Tom Grossi. That's Brandon Perna. And this is and the S stands for Steelers got Aaron Rodgers again.
Hey, he finally did it. And he did it in May this year. So
It's
he
gonna
expedited the process for us. Thank you, Aaron.
Always.
God, we are lucky to have Aaron Rodgers in our lives, Tom, for one more year.
It's true.
I don't know what I would do without that man.
22nd season.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
It is crazy. We actually are going to have a special guest join us later. I didn't even tell you.
Aaron Rodgers' wife?
It's actually Aaron Rodgers' pillow that he used when he was in the darkness retreat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it a sentient pillow?
Not just a regular pillow. It does have some semen stains on it, though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I blue lighted it, and I was like, "Oh."
How did you get that?
Oh, he sent it to me.
Personally?
Yeah. People don't know this. Rodgers and I are friends.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, we hit it off when Rodgers was rumored to the Broncos 10 years ago, whenever that was. So he lets me talk some shit about him, on YouTube, but he knows it's coming from a good place.
Mm-hmm.
It's because I expect the most from that guy on the field.
Mm-hmm.
And today the show should be ending right now, really. He's coming back. That's it. Aaron Rodgers coming back to the Steelers. News is out.
He got a guarantee because we got a little bit of a pay increase. So it's like $22 million, and then has guarantees that could go, or incentives that could go up to $25 million. So he get himself a very nice payday. Gets to reunite with his
McCarthyism.
What happened?
McCarthyism.
Yeah, McCarthyism. Yep. So his former Super Bowl winning coach. I mean, as a Packers fan who has nothing invested in this, I'm excited to see him and McCarthy again. Just from a perspective, like as a football fan, I'm like, oh man, it'll be cool to see that. We'll kind of see if there's any improvement from where there was last year. If you're a Steelers fan, though, as W4 is talking about, I think whatever the feeling underwhelmed is, I feel like that's where they are. Because again, it just feels very predictable about how this season is going to go. They're going to be kind of a middle of the pack team. I don't think that they're Super Bowl contenders, and then they're going to be in this position again next season.
Yeah, that's the fear, right?
Yeah.
It's the fear is that they are going to sneak into the playoffs again.
Yeah.
And that's what some teams would pray for, right? And that's why we've criticized Steelers fans in the past. Like, okay, yeah, it might be kind of annoying that you get into the playoffs and then never go anywhere, but that's better than, where most fans kind of end up every year, and you can almost bank on that every year.
Yeah.
The issue with Rodgers coming back this season, and we'll talk to our guest about this in a little bit, Tom. The issue with Rodgers coming back this season is it feels like this was actually the perfect year/window for the Steelers to suck.
Just suck.
That's a hard thing to admit. A team will never admit that. The NFL doesn't want teams admitting that.
No.
But when Tomlin leaves, he steps away. That was kind of unexpected. You bring in McCarthy. That was also a safe hire, right? It's you know what you're getting with him.
Yes.
I don't know what the ceiling is there. And you would have had two very young, inexperienced quarterbacks on roster. So if you did suck, nobody's really going to question it. Be like, yeah, well, you got a couple mid-round QBs that nobody was certain if they could play in the league at a high level. But this would have been the year to take that chance.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's like the worst case scenario, Will Howard or Drew Aller surprises you on how well they can play the position, and you go into the 2027 draft. Like, the problem you want to have is like, actually, I don't think we even need to draft a quarterback in this draft class with a great draft.
Yeah.
And quite literally, the last time they had their losing record, I believe it was their last losing record, or maybe it's just their last shitty record. It's when they drafted Big Ben, when they were 6-10. So it feels like this would be the upcoming perfect draft for them to have that ability to actually reset a little bit. So I think that's why, and I think Steelers fans are kind of divided on how they view this situation. I think half of them are happy Rodgers is coming back because Rodgers, I think, gives them the best chance to win this season.
Sure.
But then the other half are like, that just puts us exactly where we are every single year.
And
and there's a chance if Rodgers plays just well enough, if he stays healthy enough, that 2027, he'll be coming back. I think Brady's like a number of how many years he fucking made it to, 45 or whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I mean, I think you said it perfectly, right? If I told Steelers fans, hey, you're going to go into the playoffs and you're going to lose in the wild card round, you'd hear a few things. One, what else is new?
Yeah.
But you're 100% correct. You could have that same exact outcome, but having Aaron Rodgers under center compared to Howard, right? Aller, whoever you throw underneath there, you have radically different results about how I would feel as a fan. If Aaron Rodgers goes to the playoffs and they lose, and then, okay, cool, we'll figure it out again next year. We still don't have a quarterback because we don't know what we have in Will Howard. We don't know what we have in Drew Aller. But it's like you said, if one of those guys started, whether it was Will Howard or Drew, whatever, who cares? If one of those guys started and you made it to the playoffs, then it's like, oh, I have all this optimism now, right? Like there's completely different shifts. And it just feels like, again, I don't think that the Steelers are contending for a Super Bowl this year. And so this is kind of like they're just afraid to suck. And that's where they are. But we have
Speaking
the
of
expert.
sucking.
We're really good at sucking.
There we go. Urinating Tree. Look at that. Look at that.
What's up, guys?
What's going on, bud?
Not too much, man.
What a nice surprise.
Yeah. I figured
Brandon was taking a big shit and he had an idea. It's like, you know what? Let's bring in this guy and we'll laugh at his misery. So
yeah,
that's why I'm here.
Well, you know, like we never really get a chance in clickbait to dive into like what you're really thinking, right? It's a little chaotic, and there are positives and negatives of Rodgers coming back. It's not a clear-cut good decision or bad decision. But I wanted to just like genuinely know, like, not like a take what you think people want to hear or how you would like as a Steelers fan, just at your core, how do you feel about him coming back this year?
Honestly, it's just like it doesn't move the needle for me either way.
Right.
With Aaron Rodgers, he's going to be 42. You do have the reuniting with him and Mike McCarthy, which I don't know if that's really going to pan out in 2026. But the same thing is the Steelers, they put themselves in this situation because you come out, RD2 says he doesn't want to rebuild. And if you're looking for the best quarterback that's actively available, Aaron Rodgers is the best one. It's not a really good market per se, but at the same time, what are your other options?
Yeah.
Kyler Murray. I mean, do you pry for Daniel Jones? Do you try and get Derek Carr out of retirement? But
that would have moved the needle for me a little bit.
I mean, a different kind of needle, but I get it. But I think the main thing, it's just it doesn't. I don't think it's gonna really change anything. Like it was kind of like Russell Wilson in 2024. You saw those flashes of brilliance, especially in terms of certain throws he made about how he can improvise on the fly. But it's not what it was. And against elite defenses last year, it was putrid. He couldn't do anything. I don't know if the scheme had a lot to do with it, but his limitations really showed in a lot of those games against the Chargers, the Bills, the Texans in the playoffs.
Game, yep.
Yeah. So as I said, it's like it's not really awe-inspiring to me. And the thing with the Steelers is, as I said, if they want to believe they can make a run, then that's the way to do it. But at the same time, you're in that mushy middle. And what that mushy middle is that like ownership can go to the fans and say, hey, we're going to try and compete again. But most fans who've seen this over the last decade or so are just going to be like, great.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So as I said, it's just like, I get why they did it.
Well, yeah.
But at the same time, I'm just like,
why? I get why, but
much.
why?
I mean,
it's short-sighted at the very minimum, right? Like I think that's it. It's a short-term solution of like, this is how we get through this season.
Yeah, it's latter stage Big Ben all over again. I think that's just the reality of it. Because remember, Ben, the last few years, it was just like there was nothing left.
Dude, they were dragging that carcass that last season.
Yeah, exactly. Final year was just like a big like retirement party farewell, and that's how they kind of spun it. And now it's just like, okay, great. You kind of let Rodgers walk all over you again because your deadline was the draft. That came and went, and they tried to spin. It's like, oh, we don't want him for minicamp, but we knew he was coming back. There was no other option there. It's like, okay, who's going to want Aaron Rodgers as a full-time starter? Nobody really. I mean, maybe Arizona, but Arizona, I think they're going to stick with Jacoby Brissett or Gardner Minshew.
Yeah. And that's like that's what stings about this one right now, right? It's a short-sighted solution that for the first time in a while, it feels like it's going to hinder your team's ability for long-term success, right?
They've been doing this for like the last couple years.
And this is
that's been the main thing because they have talented pieces.
Yeah.
But those talented pieces are aging. Chris Boswell got extended, but he's going to be 36. TJ Watt had a down year. He's going to be 32. Cam Hayward, who knows if he has another year left after this one? He's going to be 37.
And they're paying Hayward quite a bit to come back at 37.
Yeah.
And that when you talk about that Texans game in the playoffs, like for me, every time I start to get optimistic about the Steelers or convince myself that they have a chance.
I mean, it's how it is. Like we're the same thing around here. It just comes into, okay, I'm starting to buy in a little bit, get that false hope coming, and then dead.
Because I think you guys have had a decent offseason too. I think Michael Pittman was a great move by the Steelers, both for value and what you're getting. I like some of the pieces you brought in on defense. But you look at that Texans game in the playoffs, and your defense, the Steelers' defense actually played very well in that game, giving Rodgers and the offense a lot of opportunities, right? Yeah. And he couldn't do shit with it.
They couldn't do anything.
You're hoping Mike McCarthy and Rodgers. I think that fit is better than Rodgers and Arthur Smith, but we're asking how much better?
At 42.
Is that enough to beat one of the best defenses in the league in the playoffs this year? Probably not, right?
No. I mean, there's so much that can happen in an NFL season. I'm seeing there's some potential variables. I mean, there's some optimism where you can think, okay, maybe they can win an extra game or two into the system because you do have that chemistry on offense. But at the same time, there are a lot of aspects that can fall apart. I know, like with the defense, has been bailed out by splash plays and fluke bullshit. God. How long does that keep happening, especially with your high-end talent starting to age? What happens with Aaron Rodgers? Does he get hurt? Because he's going to be 42. And especially with questions at left tackle now, with Broderick Jones potentially getting injured, you're going to move Fautanu. Is Ihanacher ready for right tackle? And then a wide receiver, I love the Jeremy pick. And I mean, Michael Pittman will be a lot better as a wide receiver too.
Sure.
But is it going to really do much to generate separation? I know you're not going to be force feeding Jonnu Smith every single game, but at the same time, it's just how it is. And I know it says like I'm not trying to be pessimistic here. It's just, I kind of see the same thing, but I don't know how.
Yeah.
Well, and that's like, you look at, you mentioned like Jacoby Brissett, and there were games or moments where Rodgers looked good last year.
He did.
But like his overall like EPA through the course of the season, sandwiched between Jacoby Brissett and Tyler Shuck, right? I saw a thing about, and I don't even know if it's true because I don't know the site that it's come from, but it said basically like in terms of Rodgers' sack percentage of sacks that were his fault, he was like one of the highest last year of quarterbacks taking bad sacks.
Not mobile anymore. Yeah.
Well, yeah, as I said, he doesn't have that mobility, and that's just the reality of having a torn Achilles. And it's really hard to recover from that. Look at Kirk Cousins. Like, his mobility has not been the same ever since.
Yeah. And that's one thing you look to, right, is the Broncos in 2015. They win a Super Bowl where Manning was just, he was very injured.
Yes.
But he had defense was phenomenal.
He had shoulder issues and he had his foot issue. The difference, like if you're looking at Manning versus Rodgers, like Manning knew how to play the game with physical limitations for like the last 10 years of his career.
Sure.
Yeah.
Rodgers has always leaned on some of his elite physical traits. They've never been like, like fucking Mahomes or Lamar Jackson or whatever, but they've been different. And now he's trying to figure out how to play the game with those being diminished, and he can still do it at times. But I think you have to play kind of in that, oh God, my body is not as good as the rest of these guys, and I have to play the position purely from the mental game.
Sure.
And you're hoping, like, because Rodgers has that part of it. You're hoping he's able to make up that difference between where he's at now physically, where he's at mentally. And I don't know if, I think you're right. I don't know if he can tip that balance where just being the sharpest guy out there is going to be enough for your team.
I think the thing as well, like Rodgers does have the mental game, but a lot of his specialties came from improvisation.
Yeah.
Like, you saw a little bit of that last year, but at the same time, just with the lack of mobility, he's not able to do what he was able to do. And worst case scenario in that regard was Big Ben in his final years, because Big Ben in his prime, he was a special quarterback. Josh Allen before Josh Allen, but when his legs went, it was sad. But the thing with Rodgers, I don't think he's Ben Roethlisberger levels of statue.
No.
But at the same time, as I said, it's you have a lot of ifs. Like, if Rico Dowdle becomes as good as he was in like the Mike McCarthy system again, if Michael Pittman meshes out, if you do get quality tight end play, if you get Iheanacho and Troy Fautanu to like gel at left tackle, maybe Dylan Cook is your answer there, if your defense maintains. And the question is, there are just too many ifs to really get on the wagon.
Well, I think also, like, to Perna's point about Manning, right, and Tree, you're talking about, like, they had that elite defense, right? So you can kind of drag Peyton Manning to the Super Bowl and be like, we're going to win in spite of you. Like, this would make sense if we were in a scenario where, like, you're the Houston Texans, you have that insane defense, and you know that CJ Stroud's not going to be the guy. If there was no one else and they're like, hey, we signed Aaron Rodgers, I'd be like, okay, that makes a little bit more sense, right? Because they think they have the pieces. Even when the Jets traded for him, right? They had that really good defense. Yeah. They had Garrett Wilson. They're like, okay, let's go and make these moves because we are a quarterback away. We have Breece Hall who's running well.
Yes.
I agree with Tree. It's kind of just, there's so many what ifs. And you have a team that is getting older, a defense that costs a lot of money. And it just feels like, again, all right, we're getting through the 2026 NFL season and we'll figure out 2027 when we're in 2027. And that lack of long-term planning, I feel like, has gotten the Steelers to this point where fans are just tired of seeing the same old thing, because whether it's Aaron Rodgers, whether it's Russell Wilson, whether it's Kenny Pickett, you know what I mean? It's just, all right, we're constantly drafting around the same spot. We don't have a franchise quarterback. We can't get one. So even the years when our defense is really damn good and might be contenders, we just don't have the right guy under center.
I think the thing, too, it's like, this is how RD2 wants it. Like, he doesn't really want to rock the boat. Like, he's been on record saying he's not interested in a rebuild. He says, like, if he believes he has the horses, he wants to go for it. I don't know if I necessarily agree he has the horses to go far, because there's been no track record of beating elite teams, but at the same time, this is what he believes. And at the same time, he can also sell it as we're still being competitive. He can keep the fan base interested for some aspects. So from a business standpoint, it makes sense because at the end of the day, you're sort of in that C+ tier, which at the same time gives you that little morsel that maybe, just maybe, you can break out into something like a New England Patriots, where they did have to bottom out, but at the same time, they broke out. If you have a situation like, the Green Bay Packers a couple years ago, where they were looking kind of tepid, but a lot of things break out, they have that jump. And I think that's what they're really pushing. And with RD2, he doesn't really want to, innovate or evolve. They were always bringing out like the old guys from the 70s, the 2000s, like for a lot of the pre-games. Mel Blount is a regular. You saw a lot of it at the draft. And I think that's what RD2 wants. He's Dan without anything that made Dan great. Because if you look at Dan Rooney's history, he had to make a lot of tough decisions. He fired his brother in '85. He had the Tom Donahoe, Bill Cowher drama. He had, he forced the Steelers to take Ben Roethlisberger because Bill Cowher wanted I believe Sean Andrews, a tackle out of Arkansas. Mm-hmm. So at the same time, that's the kind of stuff that Art Rooney II is not doing. Yeah. He just wants to more or less just keep things status quo. I don't want to really make a risk because at the same time, they're fine with what they are. And with the NFLPA report cards too, it's getting pretty damning with a lot of aspects. I know Art Rooney too was one of the ones that was heavily criticizing those report cards being public. But at the same time, I know it's, as I said, I hear a lot of good things about like his successor, like Dan Rooney III or Dan Rooney Jr., I believe it is. Like I hear great things about the guy, but until he's there, and I don't know when that's going to be, you're in that sort of like you're kind of stuck. Yeah. And that's what that kind of content with being that.
What here's my question. And I was writing about this morning and what is your definition of success for the Steelers this year?
I mean, is it at the end of the day,
win? Do you got to get to the championship? I don't think anybody believes Super Bowl.
Yeah. I mean, hey, I will believe my delusions work on Super Bowl. But at the same time, I think the organization's goal is win a playoff game. I think that's
a single playoff game. You guys would be like, all right, that was worth Rodgers coming back.
I think that's how the organization feels. I mean, I don't know if like the Steeler fans are going to feel that way. I mean, there will be a sect that enjoys that. Just the thrill of winning a playoff game again. It's going to be 10 years. Yeah. So you've had a lot of humiliating losses in that time. Cheers. But at the same time, I think you could at least sell it to the fans like, okay, we had a successful year. We were able to win a playoff game, and there's at least some hope for the future. I think that's how they're going to be able to sell this. I think like most of the fans will just have a relief there.
Yeah. Can I tell you the worst case scenario for Steelers fans?
9-8.
It's that. But they get into the playoffs, and I think
and get blown out.
The Steelers are going to have to win the division, I think, to get in the playoffs because I think the AFC is going to be really tough and close. And I don't know if the Steelers can even do that this year.
And the problem is, like, they had a lot of elements that really came into place last year. Ravens were a train wreck. Lamar Jackson got hurt. Joe Burrow got hurt. You had the Browns who were just they're sitting there in a desert just trying to find a quarterback water and just going delusional. I don't know if that's happening again.
This is what I want to see for your sake, Tree. Yep. It's the Steelers get into the playoffs. It's a wild card game. And they got to play the Cleveland Browns, and Deshaun Watson bounces the Steelers from the postseason. That is your worst case scenario.
It would be worst case scenario.
That is the worst case scenario.
Deshaun Watson is realistically going to be their starter this year, too.
Yeah. Because your last worst case scenario is Baker Mayfield and the Browns, getting that win. It was a good day for you as a video creator on YouTube.
No, I was miserable that day. What, are you kidding me?
I know, but
people just sitting here laughing at my misery.
It's a good day for business.
I feel like for the Steelers going forward, right? It's because someone was asking, like, would you rather start Drew Aller or Will Howard? I feel, Tree, correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like you just throw those guys in and see what you have, right? Because if you drafted them, right? You drafted them both, and you're like, all right, well, now let's see if they could actually play. It doesn't seem like the organization has a ton of faith in Howard because otherwise they would have ran with him, and
Don't
been like,
tell
all right,
that to
let's
the
just
fans.
see what we got.
Yeah.
So yeah,
there
I
are
don't.
there are two different types of fan sex here. There is the Drew Aller types. People who watched him at Penn State, they think he has a lot of potential.
Sure.
And then there are the Drew Aller or the Will Howard truthers. They are the ones that believe he is going to be the man that leads them to the promised land. He is our version of Shedeur Sanders. He is a guy that never practiced he got injured in training camp, broke his finger on a snap, never played a preseason game, hasn't really had much practice, but at the end of the day, they see him in the national championship and think, that's our Moses. He's going to lead us to the promised land. It may take 60 years, but he's going to get us there, damn it.
I like that. I think I think what you got to be at 2-6 by midseason. And then they're like, all right, let's give 4 games to Howard. Let's give 4 games to Aller. Let's kind of see what either of these guys got. In terms of like talent, there's a lot more upside with Drew Aller. Like at least you've seen Drew Aller do like, it was a couple years ago, but he played some pretty high-level football. I know you're all about that high-end talent. He is high-end talent. The whole thing this last week is like Mike McCarthy is deprogramming Drew Aller. He's unteaching him all his bad habits. Maybe that's true. Like maybe that's what McCarthy does well. But at least at some point, you've gone, okay, Drew Aller looks like a first-round talent. Then a lot of shit went wrong at Penn State over the last 2 years.
It just fell apart. Like, I mean, in terms of big performance, he didn't do anything. That's why I didn't want Drew Aller because, I mean, if you look at what happened against Notre Dame, against, Ohio State, Michigan, Oregon, UCLA, like it was not good. And that's why you get that sour taste in your mouth and you're going to, have 2 or 3 years where you're trying to invest. And the problem is a lot of this stuff you were hearing about him, like, oh, he didn't really have a good system. He didn't really have like faith in the organization or just like he needs a fresh start. They said the same things about Christian Hackenberg. And that's what scares me.
Well, yeah. I mean, Hackenberg, slightly different, but.
Yeah, but they had the same thing about like how he had that bad parting with James Franklin and how that system kind of ruined him.
Yeah. That's why it's ultimately probably good for Drew Aller that Aaron Rodgers is coming back. If you want to believe like Aller has a legit shot, he doesn't have to get thrown out there right away. And I think he needs some time to it's like you're correcting mechanics and other things that are fixable. But 2, it's like, what's the mental makeup of that guy? How can he get his confidence back? Because when he did play with it, we've seen him play really well. It was just, 2 seasons ago, and then he got worse. And that's kind of like the narrative about all the quarterbacks that got drafted this year is a lot of them played really well in 2024, I think.
Yeah.
Or 2023, 2024, and they didn't live up to those expectations, right? They did not progress. And that's what you want to see to believe they're going to succeed in the NFL. When they're going the other way, even if it's not by a ton, it's concerning to NFL teams.
Yes. I think the thing too is, remember this time last year we were talking about the 2026 draft class being one of the most loaded in terms of quarterbacks, and a lot of them flamed out. A lot of them did. Yeah. Or they stayed in school, like a Dante Moore. But at the same time, even Arch Manning. But like, do you really see it as, okay, like, the Steelers aren't going to throw either of them out there unless things just go way south. Way south.
Someone gets hurt,
I don't.
Or it's just
I like the Steelers have built up enough of a floor where I don't think that's going to happen. Knock on wood. But at the same time, you're in a situation where, I mean, it could be a Murphy's Law season. You do try a couple games of Will Howard. You try a couple games of I would say Drew Aller. But the thing is, like, I feel like there would be sort of a clash because I don't know how Aaron Rodgers is going to take that.
Sure. I mean, I will say if you are Aaron Rodgers and you have to make 25 or 22 because of the contract is $22 million guaranteed, up to $25 million with incentives, which is not bad to play a starting quarterback. Don't get me wrong, but the money's not the issue here. But I don't know if Rodgers is coming back to be a backup, right? And that's kind of what you're alluding to, Tree.
No,
I have to imagine he's not, right?
No.
At the same time, listen, if things go like really, really poorly and we're 10 games into the season and you guys won 2 games, which I don't think is going to be the case, but you win 2 games, then maybe they switch off with somebody and McCarthy's just like, all right, man, just ride the bench for the rest of the year and that's it.
And
there would just be arguments there.
The other strength Rodgers has is like the guys like playing for him. It's not a situation where nobody in the Steelers locker room, like everybody wanted Rodgers back, and there's a little bit of consistency there with him coming back and making the switch from Tomlin. But you talk about the Steelers not being able to make tough decisions. That's kind of where it landed. And there's a few tough decisions they could have made that might have benefited you guys in the long term, but
they don't want to make those decisions. That's the problem.
It's like Rodgers in an injury. That's the only way I think those other quarterbacks are getting on the field, or he's literally like winless. And we're in December and the Steelers have 1 or 2 wins or 0 wins. And even if they have, say, like 3 wins, he's going to want to go down with that sinking ship as well.
Of course. For as long as he can, because that might be his last hurrah.
Yeah, it might be. Which, hey, like, again, as a Packers fan, the sentimental part of me is like, man, it'll be cool to see him with McCarthy. And I will say, if there's any good news of getting McCarthy, because when the Steelers hired him, there was still that there was still that same, damn, this is the same thing again, right? Like we couldn't even get a head coach with a different first name. Like we're literally just continuing the trend. He's going to be too good. The good thing is Mike McCarthy can develop quarterbacks, right? Someone mentioned about like Tom Clements not being there. And I'm sure that's one of the major reasons why Rodgers and guys like Love had a bunch of success. But I do believe in McCarthy to get the best out of his QBs. And so if this is a year where they're like, hey, maybe we really do believe in Drew Aller, right? Because again, I'm going to put Howard to the side because I don't think they draft a quarterback if they really believed in him. But if they really believe in Drew Aller and be like, all right, you get to learn behind a Hall of Famer and Aaron Rodgers, McCarthy is going to coach you up. If the rumors are true where they just need to rebuild him from scratch, then it's like, okay, maybe that's the game plan going forward of like, it's going to be Drew Aller's season next year. We're going to see what we got. It's just, again, you're not going to give him too many weapons, in the middle of the round, I would assume next year.
Yeah.
If you're drafting there.
I think, as I said, it's a lot that's going to happen throughout the season too. But I think the thing too, I think the main thing with McCarthy developing quarterbacks, or just like McCarthy even being there, I feel like they wanted Tomlin to come back, but they got shocked, and they kind of want that same sort of principle. And as like my fear was, okay, like RD2 is going to get lazy on either promote Arthur Smith or hire McCarthy because of the local connections. And I feel like there was some like sort of reason why, because, he grew up in Greenfield. So I think there was a little bit of that there too. But at the same time, I mean, at the end of the day, they've made their choice and you just got to roll with it.
Yeah. Who was the coach you wanted from this cycle?
I would probably say Clint Kubiak. I really like what he did with the Seahawks offense.
And see, that would have required patience by the Steelers there. It's weird. They're patient with Rodgers, but
it's a risk too, because at the same time, he's very unproven.
Yeah. I think like the hiring that's going to haunt you guys is Jesse Minter going to Baltimore.
Yeah, especially with that Harbaugh connection. Like he did phenomenal work with that Chargers defense, and you really saw it because they didn't really have much size and ability, but they were like perfectly positioned every time.
And that's, the Steelers are banking their defensive success on the guy coming over from the Raiders. God damn it. What's his name?
What do you mean?
Who's your DC
Patrick
right
Graham.
now?
Patrick Graham.
Yeah, Patrick Graham.
Yeah, as I said, like I wasn't really crazy about his defenses. I wasn't really a huge fan of his.
Yeah, it's like, what talent was he working with in Vegas outside of Crosby, right? Like,
I mean, there were some. I mean, Eric Stokes looked pretty good last year. Divine Diablo had his moments. I mean, he did have some guys. I mean, Devin White. But although Devin White, I mean, with all those tackles, that's a huge red flag for a linebacker. But at the same time, I mean, he did get some, but his results were very suboptimal.
Hey, he got
a needed
Stokes,
change.
Man. That's a good point, right? I mean, this feels like a transitional year, but they're competing like it's not.
Yeah,
right?
I think the thing is they want to keep like that sort of appearance up.
Because
And I think that's what they're doing.
the Dolphins are like, hey, make no mistake, we're
They're
tearing
nuking it.
everything.
They are
down
nuking
to
that
the
stuff up.
studs. Like, we're gonna keep Achane, right? Like that's gonna be, we're bringing Malik Willis. It's gonna be competitive, but man, like we're selling off Waddle. We're getting rid of all these contracts, and it just, I don't know. It just feels like that's what Pittsburgh has needed to do. But again, I think the best case scenario is you have Drew Aller learns behind Rodgers, and then hopefully can, get a start at some point, whether it's later in the season, or next year, and he looks really good. Then this is going to age pretty well, because if you get your franchise quarterback, then but again, your team's just getting older, man. Like,
if Drew Aller's starting a game in 2026, something has gone horribly wrong, because even if Rodgers gets hurt, you're putting in Mason Rudolph.
Yeah.
But that's all, honestly, like something going horribly wrong might be the best thing that can happen for the Steelers.
But unfortunately, I don't know if the organization sees it that way.
Dysentery?
Because once again, they're afraid of taking a
locker
step
room?
back to take 2 steps forward. That's been their issue, because look at the Patriots, for example. Like, they fell apart for a couple years without Tom Brady. They had Mac Jones, made it up, and then just bottomed out hard. And then they had Gerard Mayo. They had to admit they made a mistake. So they had to can him, bring in Vrabel, and then he's just, he finds magic in Drake May, who had promise, and they really bring it together. Now, I don't know if that continues especially with the Rossini gate happening, but at the same time, that's the kind of like thinking in the NFL, what you have to do, especially in a cap league. You either have that sort of like floor ceiling relatively similar, or you have to bottom out for a little bit and then make the right moves and build up. But because, that can backfire horrifically. Look at the Jets.
Correct.
But at the same time, it's something you have to do in this league. And the Dolphins realized that, because their upside was, okay, we're going to make the playoffs and then get blown out by the Chiefs. And then Tua fell apart. They had a bunch of injuries. They brought in talent, but it didn't really do anything. So that they were content with, okay, nuke it. And that's what they're going to do. And if the Dolphins come back in a couple years, they find their franchise guy and they make the playoffs in the same time and have more of a future than the Steelers, who are kind of in that same boat, then it's just going to be more of that, like further proof of that phenomenon in the NFL.
Again, the only thing that changes that is if you have a quarterback already, right?
Yes,
like,
unfortunately, do the Steelers have that in that room? I don't know.
That's the question, right? Because even if you look at the Packers and Rodgers in that 22 season, they don't make the playoffs. They lose that last game. And then it's, okay, we're going to send Jordan Love out there with the youngest team in the NFL. We don't have any safeties. We're just going to see what we have. And as you mentioned, like the first half of that season was not fun. Like, it was not great, but then they got hot. Like you said, did they have that guy in that room? Green Bay, I would love 15-2. I'm thinking like more 11, 12 wins. I would love 15-2, but I do think the Lions will take a step up this year.
They're gonna level up old Detroit.
I just think that they're not going to be as bad as they were last year, unless they have all the injuries again.
Absolutely, but it is what it is.
But yeah,
all right, Tree. Well,
Tree, appreciate you coming on.
Absolutely, thank you guys for having me on.
Thanks for filling us in, man.
Yeah, it's good for a little therapy session. Let's just put it that way, guys.
Just get to get it all out.
Yeah, I know exactly. It's I'm punching pillows in the background. I'm talking in that long chair about my life and stuff like that. But it's all good. It's a pleasure to be on, guys. Thank you.
Take it easy, man. We'll see you on Clickbait in 1 to 20 weeks.
Yeah, as I said, hey, I still have. I as long as I avoid that gritty punishment, I'm good.
There you
I
go.
still have a few I got to take care of. But
All right, brother. See you later.
Take care.
Doses. Already got fitting.
What? Oh my God.
I got you.
Can I get a Perna raid? You know the rest. Have a great Monday, guys.
Perna raid? Who the fuck is Perna?
It's good. I think it's still one of the greatest clips of all time.
Yeah, I'm glad you knew what he was talking about, because I was like, Perna raid.
I got you.
I know that clip is who the fuck is Perna, so it was a little confusing to me.
I got
right
you.
up the top there.
Again, it's a little quiet in the NFL, but the other news is that Nashville is expected to host the Super Bowl in 2030. This will only be their 3rd season of operation with the new stadium, but of course that is heavily underway. Hopefully I get to see it during 30 and 30. But yeah, that's the big other news that came out today.
Yeah. I feel like we're going to be there's going to be an onslaught of country music on that halftime show.
Probably.
You're Nashville. I don't think the NFL has a choice even at that point.
No.
My 10-day. Wow. You got a 10-day-old?
They can talk already? That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, if they're talking right now, your kid is ahead of the curve.
That's pretty good.
It takes like almost a full year before they really start saying shit to you. Genius? You got Baby Genius?
I think genius.
Is there a movie, Baby Genius?
I think genius.
Oh, that's what we need. Tom, let's write a script. Baby Commissioner. We just have a baby that runs the NFL, and it's full of shenanigans along the way.
Okay. I'm down.
All right.
We'll start writing.
There we go. Baby Commissioner.
22 episode order. Like we're going back to like old broadcasting, like 22 episodes a season.
Well, I mean,
22.
yeah, I was thinking movie, but yeah, we could do series.
Oh, you want to do that? Could we do 6 seasons in a movie? Go the community route?
Yeah, we could do that. Easy.
Okay. I like that. Yeah.
Baby Commissioner.
Yeah.
I just saw today, too, the NFL is trying to get 2 more international games approved for 2027. So they're at 9. They want 11. These motherfuckers want 11 international games.
I mean, they want more than that.
I know. They want what? 17, 16,
You're talking about they
17?
want one every week.
You can't have it all 18 weeks. You can't have it the last week. Could you imagine week 18, a divisional game between, I don't know, let's just say the Packers and Bears being played in fucking Patagonia all the way down to the very tip of South America?
I'll go to Patagonia. I really want to.
Yeah, we would go, but you don't want your football team there and fucking, well, the weather would be optimal.
Yeah, it'd be pretty nice weather.
There, in December, but
you can do some hiking afterwards.
Yeah,
it'd be pretty nice. But I mean, I was talking about this. I was on a podcast last week with a bunch of international Colts fans, and we were talking about like, hey, there's 9 games this year. You know, is the NFL just going to continuously do this? And I said the problem they're going to run into is, here's the mindset. Again, they care about 2 things. This is the only 2 things that the NFL has cared about for quite some time. Is 1, streaming. Because they are now able to sell off these games and make millions upon millions of dollars. So that's nice revenue for them. And then 2, the international markets, they want to continue to have international games because they want to grow the fan bases because then they're going to get more money, etc. So with the international issue, I think what you wind up running into is eventually there's going to be an oversaturation point, even with those markets. But the problem is the NFL is just going to push the envelope until they get to an oversaturation point where they're not going to make as much money. So, I mean, they're just going to keep on going. And again, I'm happy for the fans, like who get to watch NFL football. Like that's super cool. But yeah, you're just going to see more and more of this. And we'll see if that's going to diminish the quality of play, you know, if folks are going to get hurt. And yeah, man, it's just
more than the international games. Like what's annoying is the push for games on like Wednesdays and Fridays. And for me, like as a consumer / person who has to like work for football, I don't mind the international games in that it's a game that's usually on at 7:30 a.m. on Sunday morning. It's within the main slate of football already. And there's a nice window where I can have that on. I'm able to kind of focus just on one game and learn a little bit about, you know, whatever teams are playing that maybe I wouldn't that week because they would be in the red zone. So I don't get to like see as much from it. But it's that international push. And then the NFL's justifying, you know, adding like Wednesday games and whatever, because people watch it. They want it. Well, they watch it because it's on. It's all like the NFL is always going to be a draw whenever the game's on. It's not because it's because fans are so loyal to their team. When their team is on, they're going to watch. And there are so many of those fans for every team. You can put it on any day of the week and justify your reasoning behind it. It's not because it's a better product on Wednesday. It's just because those fans got to watch their fucking team play on Wednesday or, you know, whatever it is. And I don't know when I don't think we're close to the breaking point there.
No,
they're even a dip in viewership for a Wednesday night game will still generate them more revenue, right? So they can do whatever they want.
Yes.
And they used to stick to this schedule because it worked out nicely in terms of rest and, player health is optimized by having this schedule. Not too concerned with that.
Well, no, player health.
That's definitely on in the backseat.
Hey, we really care about player health
Backseat
on paper.
And that's probably what it would take.
Yeah.
You got to have star quarterbacks getting hurt, done for the season on those 3-4 day weeks or whatever the fuck it is.
That's what I'm saying. The quality of play has to get worse and there has to be injuries for that to actually shift. But I'm saying this as someone who has watched and has streamed every single Thursday game since like Thursday Night Football has been a thing. This past season was the best Thursday Night Football season we've ever had. And I think that there's one of two things. Maybe the matchups were good, right?
Well, they've shifted how they make those matchups now too, right?
Yes. So the matchups have been pretty solid, but two, maybe now we're getting to a point where like players are kind of used to it, where it's kind of like, all right, yep, we have these Thursday games and now. But I agree with you. The fact that, I mean, dude, look at Thanksgiving, right? Sunday full stretch, then you have Monday, then you have Wednesday, 3 games Thursday, and also you're going to have Friday. They've taken over Christmas, because now it used to be the NBA's thing. Now the NFL just blows them out of the water, man.
Yeah,
and like those Thanksgiving and on paper, those Thanksgiving and Christmas games, those are stacked. Like all 3 of those games, you're like, okay, yeah, like these are going to be pretty damn good.
Like I need to watch that.
So
there'll be one of those games, one of those teams probably out of it or not good.
Sure.
Or they've lost a player that you're just like, yeah, they don't have a chance at that point. But, what was I going to say? Oh, that's the other thing about, all right, international. They really want to reach those new fans. And I tweeted about this.
I owe the merch.
But they've made the Thursday night slates better. I think they've tried to get better games in those windows. When they first expanded to Thursday, it was just a select amount of Thursday games that year that aired on NFL Network, right? Yep. And then they pushed it to the full season. And the thinking there was like every team has to play a Thursday night game. That's the only fair way to do it because you're asking every team to play a short week once, right? Like that's sort of the thing. Now, there's 5 teams that don't have primetime games this season, which means there's 5 teams that don't have those Thursday night games. And so they've eliminated some teams from Thursday night football, even as a primetime game. So what they're also saying is like Cardinals don't get one, Raiders with the rookie quarterback, but they don't know when the rookie quarterback's going to be playing. Yeah. The Dolphins, what are the other teams that don't have the primetime games?
The Saints, I don't think have one. The
crazy.
Jets don't have one.
Jets, okay.
Yeah.
The Jets are weird just because that's such a big market, but they are now in an area where they care more about expanding their international reach versus giving regional fan bases at least one primetime game for their team.
Sure.
Like the Cardinals, you can say, yeah, they're going to be bad. They're going to be boring. And I think there's a misconception too of like, just because 2 bad teams play doesn't mean the game's good. It just means the draw or the intrigue for the game isn't as high, for other matchups. But I think it's shitty that every team doesn't have at least one primetime game, or at least, and specifically for Thursday. I don't think you have to give the Jets Monday Night Football or Sunday Night Football, but fucking throw the Jets and Raiders on Thursday night, Week 12. I'll watch that.
Because that's the beneficial aspect of it too, right? Of being like, okay, if you're going to have all these primetime games because you created an entire different night of football being Thursday night because you made $11 billion off Amazon signing an 11-year deal with them, then like at least every team should have one primetime game.
The Raiders and Jets not having one is crazy.
So, I don't know.
The Jets because of the market and the Raiders because they've got the first overall draft pick. And even if he's not playing, like Kirk Cousins, like he played well towards the end of last season. You've got Clint Kubiak. Like, I don't know. There's a lot of interest about the Raiders.
Yeah. It's also, I think there is a lot of, you just don't know when Mendoza is going to start. And I think that was the logic behind it. And as someone who thinks the Rams are going to be a very good team, if you could put the Rams on prime time 7 times, you can give one. The
Rams should not be leading the Rams should not have the most primetime games. And I probably love Matthew Stafford more than your average NFL fan.
Sure.
That's a guy I do want to see in prime time a handful of games, but Jesus Christ, dude.
7's a lot.
Yeah, it is.
So
whatever.
We'll see,
my
friend.
I don't know why they make money doing it.
They make money, and that's until it gets to the point where it's so oversaturated, they're not making money. And I think we're a ways away from that.
Yeah, it's a ways there.
Perna, what do you got coming out, my friend?
We got an episode about NFL players and coaches with the most to prove in 2026.
There we go. I like it.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm trying to get this skit out for the schedule. Moosey, I've taken him to the vet today for his tummy, so I don't know if I'm gonna get it out today. I'm gonna try. Pupper comes first, so gotta see. But folks, appreciate the hell out of you. We'll be seeing you. Maybe we'll be back Wednesday. We'll see what happens with
yeah, I'll be gone Friday, so definitely
I'm
no
gone
show Friday. All right, perfect. Hopefully Wednesday.
But folks, thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. That's Brandon Perna. This is G. This is P. This is S. And you have been navigated.
And you reached your wee destination.
Where are we?